Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are here back for the first time in I don't even know how long, talking about Overwatch League. Now, we haven't discussed anything Overwatch League related since I believe early stage 2. So yeah, we're here now at the end of stage 3. Just a couple days after Shanghai Dragons won their first stage. And they announced sort of what's happening in 2020. As we've known since the launch of the Overwatch League, even since it got announced, the whole plan was to sort of play in their cities, which, works pretty well for most American sports or sports in different countries that play in those countries. If you play games in Europe, Europe's pretty easy to travel around, exclusively in Europe. Or, if you do games in America, it's relatively easy to travel between America and even Canada, you can say, for most of the sports. There's at least a Canadian team, whether it be basketball, baseball, things like that. They can travel to Canada. But, America, Canada, that area. And then, Europe. And then, games in Asia, depending on where you play there, it's relatively easy to travel as well. But Overwatch League is not exclusive to one region. There is a majority of teams in America, and 2 in Canada. So there's a majority in that area. There's also 5 teams in Asia, and then 2 in Europe. So what they're doing is announcing how this is going to work. So obviously for the first 2 years, 2018 and 2019, Overwatch League has been played exclusively in Los Angeles, except for the finals last year, which were in New York, the finals this year in Philadelphia, and then their trial weekend events that happened, where they played in Dallas and Atlanta. They're also trying one in Los Angeles, not really sure why, but they are, at the end of stage 4. So what they're doing is they announced that, well, I'll read the article. I'll read this paragraph. It says, when we launched the league, we divided the teams into Atlantic and Pacific divisions to prepare for this evolution, which is, again, having divisions, something that every sport has, whatever they're called, or, in 2020, we are bringing the Overwatch League to the hometown fans and showcasing our amazing players around the globe. But we need to be mindful of the challenges of team travel. To that end, the Pacific divisions will become Pacific and Atlantic divisions will become the Pacific and Atlantic conferences. Now, most sports have the conferences and then divisions within them. Again, you can look at football. You have the AFC and NFC, and then you have, basketball. You get the Western Conference and Eastern Conference, but they're broken down into divisions, which they're doing here. You're going to have Atlantic North and Atlantic South, and then Pacific East and Pacific West. So it's going to be broken down more like that. Again, very similar to other sports. They have the same exact thing. So it's very cool to see Overwatch League doing that. Now, I hope that they use this more as a factor into the playoffs. I hope to see a balance from each division or each conference, and then we get the winner of the conferences to play each other, very similar to other sports. Because I'm just not a fan of the competition where they're both from the same division. I don't know. I feel like if you want to be like the other sports that are in America, and that's their main focus of Overwatch League. Obviously, they're considering a global league, but esports sells really well, especially in Korea, which we can know from that, and that's where it sells well. And I think Europe does pretty well as well, without having to be, done by city. You can do esports based on teams, just team names, and they can be multiple from a city and things like that. It's not really a problem. For American sports, it's easier to get fans to be attached to a team from a city, Most people like the teams from the area that they live. Living in New England myself, the majority of people in this area are fans of the Celtics for basketball and the Patriots for football, and those are actually the 2 sports I'm going to reference. For me, I'm not a fan of either one of those teams. but a majority of people in the area, you know, those are their teams. You know, I guess you could say I'm still relatively close for football, like in the Jets. They're in New York, which is pretty close to where I live as well. But, you know, that's not the point of what teams I like. The point is that majority of people in America are attached to their cities, or, you know, cities that are closest to them. So that's the thing. So, if they want to do that, though, and make it more like an American sport, like you see with football or basketball and baseball, it's the teams from each conference that play each other from one or the other. You don't necessarily have, you know, for football, you're not having two AFC teams for the championship, or basketball, it's not two Western Conference teams, and things like that. Baseball, you're not having two American League teams. So that's that. So let's talk about what teams are in each division for 2020. The Atlantic Conference being the North and South Division, because the Atlantic Conference is teams on the East Coast of America to about Texas, you know, the divide there, and then teams in Europe. So that being, the North Division will contain Boston, London, New York, Paris, and Toronto. So that's like, you know, up the northern part of America, northeast, because that's where Boston, New York is, and Toronto's pretty close. It's right up there, right across the border. And then London and Paris, on a map, they're about equal in distance. Not distance, but equal in level on the Earth. So that makes sense. The South Division, we have teams in the South. Atlanta, Florida, Philadelphia, and Washington are kind of there. They're kind of iffy. And then Houston. But Atlanta, Florida make a lot of sense. I guess Philadelphia would definitely be in the North Division. But I guess they had to put London and Paris in there, so they kind of put them down there. Because you can look at divisions for other sports, and Philadelphia is always like, you know, a top one. Why is this thing not working? Something break my computer wire again? Oh my god. Oh my god. I apologize. I believe my, I hope not, but I believe my MacBook charger has been broken again. No, it's working. Those things are expensive to buy. I think that one was like $70 or $80. So, I was concerned it was broken again. Okay. So, again, the South Division, Atlanta, Florida, Houston, Philadelphia, Washington. Philadelphia typically is in the Northern Divisions. You can look at basketball, and you have Boston, New York, Brooklyn, Toronto, and Philadelphia. But, again, they have to kind of put London and Paris in for Overwatch League, so it's sort of whatever. And, again, Houston's kind of on the edge there, if you consider it east or west, but I think Dallas is further west than Houston. I don't know. I'm assuming that it is. That's why it's set up like this. Then we look at the Pacific Conference. The Eastern Division is all the Asian teams. There's 5 teams in Asia, 4 in China, and 1 in Korea. So you have Chengdu, Guangzhou, Hangzhou, and Shanghai, and then Seoul. That makes sense. They're all relatively close, considering 4 of them are in one country, and then South Korea is very close to China. So that one makes the most sense of all the divisions, and the West Division here also makes sense. So with the East Division, or the Eastern or Atlantic Conference, I was going to say Eastern Conference, Atlantic Conference, it's a little bit more, I guess, weird, but Pacific makes a lot of sense. The West Division, you have the 3 California teams, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. And then you have Vancouver and Dallas. That makes sense as well. So, I kind of figured if they did this, that at least for the Pacific Conference, that would be the divide of it. I mean, the one that's the obvious one is the East Division. Like, that's the most obvious of all of them. Like, before I even read the article, I'm like, alright, I know who's in that one. Like, when they said we're doing division-wise, I'm like, alright, we're gonna have that. Because obviously, you know, Seoul Dynasty is my favorite team. Because I like Korea a lot. You can look there. I have a Korean flag. And I have a shirt that says Good Morning Seoul. And I have a cat named Seoul. Yeah. So that's that. So let's get into scheduling. So this says, since 2017, Blizzard Arena, Los Angeles, has been the epicenter of our story. Next year, our global league is going home. Actually, to many homes, with 52 homestand weekend events hosted at venues across the world. So it says since 2017, because the preseason was December 2017. Blizzard Arena, again, has been the place where every match is taking place in Overwatch League, besides the finals last year and the 2 homestand weekends so far, Dallas and Atlanta. They'll also have Los Angeles one. I believe it's the Microsoft Theater is where it's going to be. I might be wrong, but I know it's where the Gladiators play, or the Valiant. One of them are going to play in the Microsoft Theater, which I believe is right across from Staples Center. It's very close to Staples Center. And then, of course, the finals this year will take place in Wells Fargo Arena in Philadelphia, where the Philadelphia 76ers play, and I believe the Philadelphia Flyers. Yeah. So, this says each team will host 2 homestands. On top of those, teams in each division will collectively host 3 additional regular season events in their home territories. So, what I'm assuming this means is that every team's going to play each other during a season. I'm assuming that's how this is going to work. I mean, we're not going to see, like, I don't know, I feel like we're going to see every team play each other, or relatively close. I mean, this is going to be, I'm very interested to sort of see how it works. You can only sort of imagine, like, I don't know if they're going to do, like, a weekend, like they've done Saturday, Sunday, with the homestands, and you have 8 games, and then, you know, so say the game's hosted in Seoul. We'll use Seoul as an example. You'll have Seoul play their 2 games there, and you also have New York, say New York comes there, the Excelsior. And then you might have the Hunters there as well. And then you'll have the Valiant, things like that. They'll all play each other there. I'm assuming that's how this works, and I don't really know, like, if they're doing more than one in a weekend. Well, so there's 52. So, if the season goes from February to August, 52 would be 1 a week. So that means there's going to be multiple a week. So, assumably that's how it's going to work. And I don't know if, I'm assuming they're going to have to add more people to announce, more announcers. I'm sure they will. They call themselves casters. I'm calling them announcers because that's what they do. So, I'm assuming they have to add more announcers to travel all these places as well. But it'll be very, very interesting to sort of see how this all works out. Let's see. Yeah, it says they're also going to collectively host 3 additional regular season events in their home territory. So I'm assuming the Pacific, I don't know, we'll say Pacific East, right? Because that's the one, that's where that's Seoul's group. So I'm going to say that one. If they host 3 additional regular season events, does that mean that they're going to host, like, I don't know, couple games? Maybe they'll host a game or 2 in Seoul, a game or 2 in Shanghai, things like that. Or is it going to be like this division gets 3 extra games played in Shanghai, and that's it? I don't know. It says this 2020 season will begin in February next year and conclude in August. Teams will play 28 matches over the course of the regular season, facing in-conference opponents twice each and out-of-conference teams each once. So, basically, what I said was just confirmed. You will play all 19 opponents. Whatever your favorite team is, they will play every other team. They play twice with their conference. So, again, we'll just go back to the conferences so everybody knows again, because we don't really mention who's in what conference that much. It's not really that highlighted because, again, they focus on top 8 teams make it in, 1 from each conference. That's it. Everybody else is just whoever makes it into the playoffs. So you don't really get to see who's in the conference, who's in the conference. So again, Pacific Conference, these teams will each play each other twice a year. Chengdu, Guangzhou, Hangzhou, Shanghai, Seoul, that's the East Division, and they'll also play Dallas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Vancouver. Those teams will each play each other twice a year. And that goes for the same with the Atlantic Conference. Boston, London, New York, Paris, Toronto, Atlanta, Florida, Houston, Philadelphia, and Washington. They will all play each other 2 times a year. And then each one of these teams will play the opposite. So each Pacific Conference team plays twice against the Pacific Conference team. And then they each play once against the Atlantic Conference or once against Pacific. So basically Seoul is going to play all the Pacific teams twice. And then they'll play the Atlantic teams all once. Makes a lot of sense. Let me just respond to this real quick. Okay. So. And it also says all regular season matches will be played on weekends. What? Okay, so that does mean that you're only getting games on Saturdays and Sundays. That's it. Nothing else will be played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, which has been something they've been doing since the beginning. We've seen Overwatch League games in the first season Wednesday to Saturday, and then here in 2019, Thursday to Sunday. So they're only doing Saturday and Sunday. So I'm assuming that they're going to do multiple, like they're going to have a whole day of games though. It's going to be like, you have to pick which game you want to watch. And it also says there'll be time optimized for local markets. So basically what that means is you will see games throughout the day because you'll have games, say Seoul, and we'll take Seoul and New York, right? Those are the 2 teams that I like the most. So if there's an event happening in Seoul and this is happening in New York, there's a big time difference in Seoul and New York. And to give that, I actually have my watch here, which I have the time in Seoul and the time here. And the time where I live is the same as New York. So right now it is 12:33. So it's 1:33 in the morning in Seoul. So that means that they can play a game at different times. Because right now, it's just early morning in Seoul. Like everybody's like, you know, it's early morning? And everybody's like going to sleep. Yeah, because it's like 1 in the morning. You should be slumped right now. So, you know, they can start playing game at like 9 o'clock there, and then have a game going in New York right now, and then be prepared to have a game in Seoul. So you can get all matches in, basically, because it'll work. Because they want to show them in the prime time in the area. They're not going to be like, oh, it basically works at the Overwatch World Cup. If anybody watched the Overwatch World Cup and you know the 4 locations that they had it, I believe there were the groups 2018, Incheon, Bangkok, France, and Los Angeles. So if you wanted to watch the game, which I did for the Incheon stage, I remember I was watching one game at like 5 in the morning. So if you want to watch your favorite team, it's going to be like, it's going to be rough if you like a team not in your area, basically, or not in the same country. So I'll have fun watching Seoul Dynasty next year. And then this says the full 2020 schedule will be released next month, with tickets going on sale shortly after, so you can play an adventure with friends. So we'll probably do a video analyzing the schedule and definitely breaking it down more, because then we'll know sort of how things are going to work. I'm very excited to sort of look at that, and I can probably pull it up on the computer, and it will say everything a lot easier than maybe looking at the iPad right now. Playoffs tournament. Due to the travel scheduling requirements, the 2020 season will no longer be split to stages, which I was super excited when I read. But we will have also mid-season all-star events. This means we will have Overwatch League matches every week of the season, but don't worry, teams will still have rest. The designated bye weeks, which will differ from team to team. So, we're getting rid of stages. which I'm kind of glad about. Stages definitely are lame, and you get like a week off for some reason because it's so taxing to play video games. It's so hard. But the stages, I don't know, stage playoffs, I'm glad they're over. The last one was the stage 3 because there is no stage 4 playoffs. So stage playoffs are done. I don't know. I just wasn't like, although they were cool in the beginning, but then they kind of just got to be less interesting. And I feel like it got less interesting when there was only 7 games as well. You're playing like half your stage games you make it to the finals, like in that 1 week. So I don't know. I feel like stage playoffs I'm glad that they're done. They weren't necessary. You want to be like other sports, we'll say American sports. There's really no comparison to stages. They'd be like in football. The NFL, they play 4 games. They take a week where they just have a tournament, and the teams with the best records play each other. What? Why? And they have like a week off in between. That doesn't work. So I'm glad they're getting rid of that. They're getting rid of it for travel purposes, so that we don't have to travel. The best 8 teams don't have to travel to, I'm assuming, Los Angeles. We'll just say Los Angeles, Blizzard Arena, play there. Like, come on. So, yeah. That's that. So, again, teams will have bye weeks, get rest weeks. Because, again, I don't think you need to have, like, multiple weeks off like you get for stage breaks. But having rest time, it is a sport. It is a lot of strategy and prep that goes into it. So to have a little bit of time to rest and not play, I fully understand. I just like to say that it's so hard to play video games because, I don't know, it's kind of funny. I get, like, you do all the movements because you're playing with a mouse. You do all the movements with your wrist over and over, and, like, that takes a lot of wear on your wrist and your fingers. Like, it hurts. I know just holding my controller, like, my hand will hurt after a while. So I get it. So this says, at the conclusion of our season, we'll bring the best teams together for an epic tournament to crown the champion of our grand finals. So I'm assuming that this will be done very similar fashion to now. I don't know if we're going to necessarily see them at Blizzard Arena, but the grand finals will probably pick a location. Now, I'm not sure how the grand finals will work for 2020. Will the finals necessarily take place in other countries? I think it'd be unique to see the finals happen in countries besides America, but I feel like for purposes of the point of making it a global league, it's just sort of something they say to get teams from other countries involved. And I mean, a lot of the players don't come from America. But for the league overall, I feel like their main purpose of doing this format is to promote esports in America. That's just how, like, the vibe of it has sort of been given off to me. That's just what it feels like, to boost esports in America. So I don't see them not doing a finals in America, at least next year. I can see them doing the finals in Chase Center, brand new arena for the Golden State Warriors in San Francisco. I can see that happening. I don't know. I was just thinking, like, where could they play? And I'm like, that's a brand new arena. That's a great place to play, or will be a great place to play. I don't know. That's just my guess. Not saying that they will, but it'd be cool to see them play in the Warriors arena, my favorite basketball team. Since they're doing basketball arenas, because they did Barclays Center, and now they're doing Wells Fargo Center, so they could do Chase Center as well. I don't know. Either way, very interested to sort of see how things go forward with Overwatch League. The schedule coming out in August. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I don't. What? Do I know? I don't know. Oh well. Thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next one.